Hey folks, ET here coming at you with the end of week review. And before we get into the indices of SPY and QQQ, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things we saw today from the platform, maybe help alleviate some confusion as we go. So first off, obviously, when we're looking at this GEX magnet and some of these things, what we really want to pay attention to is where they are moving. Now this is the end of day picture, so it's not showing what it really looks like. So I'll put up some screen grabs here in a second to show you that certain strikes were moving throughout the day, while 418, if you really look at it, he just kept this big bar pretty much from open and didn't really shift much, but the others did shift around, which kind of pulled price around as to where it went. Also, another thing to point out that's super important is we had a very strong MNF, okay, and we had a very strong flow line across the board. So we had time frame continuity, we had not a whole lot of puts on the board, and we had strong signals throughout the day pointing upwards, okay? We also had large bouts of convergence, which is where you can kind of hang in your calls. As you can see, the times that convergence went gray, which gives you, if you look in the box here, some contrarian plays against MNF, where we saw those little dips, and then we went right back into convergence, which was showing more of an upside. All right, so we really had quite a run throughout the day looking at that, and I just want to point that out, and I want to talk about, when we look at these quick little charts here of the ODTE GEX, I want to point out during different times of the day, 420 was really the one. It doesn't matter necessarily that size of that bar sometimes that you see here. What matters is your buy time, what they look like as they're moving. Now things shifted at the end of the day, a lot changed, so we can't necessarily use the very end of the close as we go, but throughout the day, just take a look where this 420, I have the arrow pointing down, and then another screen grab with all of them turned off showing which one was moving the most, and that is also 420. So that is kind of what you want to look for as you go. You want to watch these buy time bars move in a direction, and when you see them move drastically or start to dip down from a line, that is where you really want to start paying attention to where the next pull might be. So that is how we go into that. The next thing we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and we're going to pull up the SPY options dashboard. We're going to take a look. Obviously today we don't follow these. It says in big red words, if you follow this every single day, most days, because they're vehicles for hedging, you will not be accurate. There are some days they line up perfectly, but those are very few, far in between. So just to point that out. So do not watch these net flows or the algo flow for the indices. Not that great. All right, so let's just roll on down to our dealer Greeks, which continue to stay upwards, right? We do our back test real quick. We will see that we still have a decent win percent following the dealer Greeks back test. Remember, these are build-ups. Build-ups, I want to use the word again, build-ups. They do not immediately change the stock price. It takes time for them to kind of pull up and pull down. So what you want to do is, what I want to do is, I go for a correction. I look to short on big green days and big levels that we see gamma sitting at. So today is a good day. We ran really hard. So some month out shorts for me are in order. If we don't, I didn't jump in quite yet. I want to see how Monday's price action starts, but there could still be a little bit of room up, and I want to see that happen first before I start to go short for my swings again. All right, so going into that, let's go ahead and look at our price distribution here. And our price distribution for Tuesday is kind of mixed, as we kind of see right here, right? It is bearish. Then we have a couple decent sized bullish bars, right? And then it kind of does get bearish throughout the week a little bit, right? So next week is showing just a little bit of a bearish tilt, which would match up with our dealer Greeks. But we do have some mixed signals here, as I had said in last Friday's video. There's been a few mixed signals where we've seen some things. Today was actually a somewhat bearish position for dealer OI, but we went up. Now, these don't always necessarily take place on the same day. So this being a bearish position for dealer OI, that could show up technically at Tuesday's open as a somewhat bearish day. We will see. After a big run up, sometimes we definitely see pullbacks. Going into the next few days after that, we have very slight. Now remember, these change throughout the day, so keep an eye on them and check them. I like to check them about 3 times a day: morning, and then especially what's showing on the next day, and then afternoon, and then a little bit before close. I like to look again. So we're seeing a slightly bullish tint going into Tuesday and Wednesday, and then it just gets kind of mixed and kind of mid, and our largest bear position that we see is on 616. A lot of people are just kind of eyeing this debt ceiling thing and wondering what's going on. So data is going to be a little bit mixed as these volume events start to kind of show themselves, or volatility events, sorry, start to show themselves. So it's just one of those careful stock pickers market where you take your time. So we've taken a look at SPIO. Let's go ahead and look to see where next week's expiry shows us. That should be 6. Is that correct? Let's see here. Okay, so our 6.6 shows. What do you know? We have a lot of positive levels here to kind of hold price at the point. Not necessarily hold. I'd like to say more as if price can repel from these levels. So as price reaches it, right? As price reaches it, it is possible for price to repel from it. Getting under it can do the same thing, all right? And we're at 6.9 next week. So let me get that correct. I don't know what I was thinking. My brain just shut down for one quick second, I suppose. We're at 6.2. My God, I'm an idiot tonight. Okay, let's get that figured out, and let's see how dumb I can be while I'm filming a live thing one more time. 6.2 is Friday, 6.9 is the week after. I don't know what I was thinking. All right, so for 6.2, 410 is still our biggest pull. 413 is a decent support or repel. If we get under, it could push price away as well. While 410 pulls it, you got to use these gammas and kind of think about the way they work. Right now, our 422 and our 422.5 are really the levels that price could repel from. 423 would be if this bar grows throughout the week. Make sure you keep an eye on all of this. If this bar grows throughout the week, then we could see some pull there. But right now, it looks like around 422.5, 423 could be a temporary top unless these change a lot. There are smaller levels here, but those pulls aren't that huge. So I would not be shocked to see that range for maybe 423 to 413 next week. And if we lose that 413, 410 becomes pretty important. It's GEX and VEX profile for closing out the week. Good price support at 413, which as we can see, price definitely rose up quite a bit. Really 414, I guess. Price rode up quite a bit after those big dips, and they were all eaten up today very, very quickly. So that is SPY for you, at least for its trading data. Now let's just simply look at its levels in actual level form. Right now, 422 is the main one I have drawn up. I don't have the other higher ones up there, but I might add that negative gamma there at 423 just as something to eye. This is a pretty sizable ghost zone here, 419 to 422. Was hoping it would fill today and get all the way up there, but it didn't. So that's where we ended up. Just keeping an eye on things here. These massive dark pool levels do like to pull price towards them, so I'd not be shocked to see 418, 44 again early next week, and I wouldn't be shocked to see 411, 42 again over the next 5 to 10 sessions either. There's a lot of support going down right now, so it's going to take a volatility event or some form of news or the same exact thing really to break through all of these levels as it goes. So the best way to play that is we keep an eye on what MNF is doing, right? If we have a very strong signal, there's a higher probability of the market going in that direction. So we keep an eye on MNF, we keep an eye on our ODTE GEX as they are going along, and we follow the flow towards that, right? We just follow what the tools are saying and remain patient as the plays play out. So there's our levels. Obviously, we have some very big ghost zones below. This one is quite big. The 407 to the 400 is pretty massive, and then I think currently that might be the lowest one we have right now. Yep, that's the lowest one that I was able to draw today. So 400 was the only one I was able to pull from the actual trading view, from the tradie dashboard into trading view. So that's just a good look at their levels. Okay, as always, I'm going to play things the same way I do every day. I'm going to follow that MNF, I'm going to follow the ODTE GEX, and I'm going to try to always short at a resistance and long at a support, just depending on what the flow says. And a lot of times you can do, if you're a quick scalper, you have quick hands and you have time to babysit it, you can go contrarian against the direction of MNF, which is for more skilled traders, I will say, but that contrarian view right there does help when it goes gray a lot of times, as you can see. As I said earlier, when it went gray, we had those dips. It was against MNF. I did not scalp short on SPY. I did scalp short on Google during those time periods, just because it was sitting at some levels that I thought would reject as well. You don't always have to play the indice. You can play other things that flow along with it and see how that goes as well. All right, so now let's pull up QQQ. And let's grab its levels, and then we'll look at its data, and we'll see how it goes. As always, I would like to add, please ask questions in the Discord, on Twitter. If you're not a premium member and you're not in our Discord, there are just literally so many talented traders and helpful people. Make sure I copied that right. So many talented traders and helpful people. It's not just me. There are so many good people in there. Too many to actually mention. So I'd like to point out that if you're not in there, you're missing out on a lot of people who spend a lot of time helping, answering questions, walking you through the tools, and it's very, very, very neat to see. So just pulling the trading levels. Our 350 was really our top that we had earlier on in the week, and I had mentioned it before with AMD 120, Apple 180, Google 130, and Amazon 120. Those were all levels that I was watching, hoping to see them hit with no gamma that appeared above on the charts, and with a little bit of, that's what I was thinking about going more short. We haven't hit all of those things yet. I still want Apple up a little bit. I still want Google up a little bit. Nvidia running was one of the triggers I was looking for going short, since the deltas are pointing down. Right? If you can see what I'm doing here, I'm paying attention to the data and what it's saying on the platform, and then I'm planning out the different things by looking at other pieces of the puzzle. So if tech is really, really, really strong, we're not going to see a pullback right away. So we really want to see the tops of those things hit on their gamma levels, and then we want to see levels if they appear above that to be very small and not necessarily a big pull. Okay, so there's our Q's chart. It is also, if you look at this, just so muddy going down, so many supports, and then if somehow it manages to lose, the ghost zones are still somewhat small. $4 here, right? Here's another $4, nothing too massive, and then there's not really anything below here, which is kind of crazy to see at the moment. All right, now let's look at its data going into the platform. Once again, we'll scroll up top and we'll say we don't pay attention to this. It was actually a little bullish during portions of the day, and obviously QQQ was insanely bullish. But if you were trying to follow the put line was actually, probably, since these are vehicles for hedging, the one that was actually showing instead of the call line the way it was moving. So moving along from there, we'll take a look at its Greeks. They are still pointing towards some more downside, and we are remaining patient. I do like to say that it is interesting to me if no new real big gamma shows up here. It's interesting that we're above its current highest level, but we'll dig into its GEX levels down here on the chart here in a second and see how that all looks as well. Its price distribution is kind of mixed there. Obviously, QQQ is pretty heavily weighted tech, so we're going to see, if tech is running, we're going to see some more strength in it than we might necessarily see in SPY. And as you can see, going through its cycle for the next few days, it is not as weak as SPY is showing, and it's got the same thing we were seeing a little bit here. For SPY, we still got a little bit of bullish momentum potentially building up here. Today was actually bullish momentum on it, and it did run more. All right, and then going out to that 616 is that bearish dealer OI that we're seeing. So that's interesting to see that 616 has got bearish dealer OI kind of pinned. One thing I'd keep an eye on is if we start to see a big downtrend, is this dealer OI starting to shrink up a little bit? Are they in less of a bearish position? Okay, now let's get our date right and go to 6-2 here, like someone with an actual functioning frontal lobe, and see where we're at. Now this is interesting. All right, so there is our 350 gamma level that we see going in through the next week. And if you check out our price, well, I'll be darned, we hit 349.28, so pretty darn close to that level. Interesting to see. Going on down, these are all repels, so if we hit them and we bounce back up, then we waffle them between those levels, with 355 being our absolute highest, but not a very big pull. And oddly enough, and this would be one heck of a downtrend, 320 is its current largest negative level pulling, but these do change, so always check. And it looks like it's a massive support. I know it's not considered a support when it's a positive level, but it could potentially, if there's a massive downtrend, bounce or repel away from 332 back up into this little range here. So that is interesting to see on QQQ. Pretty wide range there, with 355 being the top and 332 being really the largest level to maybe repel it and hold it in place from a complete downtrend. Another interesting thing that I've been pointing out here as we've gone along in its GEX and VEX profile, its price really has not been supported during this run. So if we're looking at this 322.8, I'll be darned if we're looking around some of these positive levels. That 320 is, or some of these negative levels, apologies, have pretty big pulls. So if its price is supported around 322 roughly, and its largest current negative level is 320. So something to keep an eye on in case tech starts to show some weakness and its dealer Greeks are still pointing towards some downside. That is all for this evening. I hope everybody had a great trading week. I will see you either Sunday or Monday, since the market is closed Monday, for our early week kind of start of the week video, where I will cover things besides the indices, some tickers that I am looking at, and we will see how they play out. I hope everybody has a good long holiday weekend, and I will see you later on in the weekend.